Hello everyone. In this video, let's understand the Government of India Act 1935. Before beginning with this Government of India Act 1935, let's see the background. Last act we discussed is Montague-Chelmsford reforms. It was 1919, and if you see this year, it is 1935. In this video, first let's understand what was the background, what had happened in these years. Let's see the major events that led to dissatisfaction among Indians. To begin with, we all discussed during World War I, Britain used Indians in every aspect, such as finance, when it comes to soldiers, when it comes to resources. Whatever it is, in all of these aspects, they had used Indians to a great extent for winning the war. In fact, Indians even supported with all of these provisions during the war. The reason being, if we support them during their need, they might help us for whatever we say. With that clause, Indians supported Britain during the war. But after the war, Britain came up with a solution called as Government of India Act 1919. In that act, there were certain provisions which caused dissatisfaction among Indians, such as first thing, Dyarchy. This Dyarchy at the provincial level, it said there were two types of subjects, transferred subjects and reserved subjects. What is this transferred and reserved subjects? As we discuss, transferred subjects are those subjects that are with provincial legislatures. In these provincial legislatures, the ministers who are working for these provinces, they are responsible to make laws in this subject of transferred subjects. When it comes to reserved subjects, these ministers who are working for provincial legislature, they are not responsible. Now, who is responsible for this? It is governor plus executive council is responsible for making laws over reserved subjects. If we see the example of transferred and reserved subjects, in transferred subjects, there are education. I am giving you just example, education and agriculture, etc. When coming to reserved subjects, this is something regarding finance, law and order, and defense. These were the provisions which is with governor and his council. If this is the case, what is the problem? Let's understand. Let's take a subject from transferred list. For example, if we see education, who is responsible for transferred subjects? As we discussed, the ministers who are working with provincial legislature. These are responsible. For example, if a education minister of province, he wanted to establish 100 schools in that province, he is having power to do as he is an education minister, but to build those schools, to operate those schools, he is not having finance with them. The reason being, the finance is the subject of reserved list. Getting for this reason, these transferred subjects, the provinces are having power to do, but they are not having enough finances with them to make the things happen. This caused a huge dissatisfaction among the political leaders. And next thing, in the Government of India Act 1919, which we discussed, it said, the last clause of this act said, it is going to provide or institute a review mechanism. For what reason? To review how this Government of India Act 1919 is working. It also said it is going to appoint a commission after the 10 years from 1919. But this was prior. Finally, they need to establish the commission in the year 1929. But they had established in the year 1927 only. They appointed a commission with the name Simon. In this commission, there were 7 members. Out of these 7 members, there were 0 Indians. Felt like someone is coming to examine your house, but they are not including you in that examination. For that reason, Indians did not like this. They started to boycott Simon Commission with the flags showing Simon go back all around the India. In this protest, due to lathi charge, Lala Lajpat Rai was injured and later this was the reason why he was passed away. British challenged Indians, saying if Indians accept, make yourself a own constitution. For this reason, in the year 1928, Nehru report came, but most of the political leaders rejected the idea of Nehru report. In his report, Nehru demanded dominion status. What is dominion status here? Indians would manage most of its affairs, but they'll be with British Empire only. That is what Nehru report demanded in the year 1928. They gave 1 year deadline for Britishers to accept the Nehru report. They did not accept this Nehru report. In the year 1929, in Lahore session, they declared Purna Swaraj, meaning earlier they were asking for only dominion status, where we'll be under you, but we need some freedom to manage our own affairs. But in this 1929 decision, they said we want complete independence now, meaning we want complete independence from Britishers now. After this 1929, to let Purna Swaraj happen, or to let Purna Swaraj take place, Gandhi and Congress came up with the idea called as civil disobedience movement. They were planning to launch a civil disobedience movement in the year 1930. Before launching this huge nationwide movement, Gandhiji gave 11 demands. These 11 demands were mainly consisting to reduce the revenue which Britishers were using out of Indian taxes. He demanded to reduce the land revenue. He demanded to remove the salt taxes. And he demanded to reduce the defense investment. And also he demanded to reduce the salaries of senior officials which are staying in India. These were some of the 11 demands which he put in front of Britain government. Even these 11 demands were rejected. And Gandhiji came up with his own idea, saying from now, in the year 1930, we are going to launch civil disobedience movement. This turned out to be a non-violence movement. Main motto of this civil disobedience movement is to break the Britain imposed laws, such as paying salt taxes. With this civil disobedience movement, what it is showing, from now we are not going to pay any taxes related to salt. That is civil disobedience movement. Once this civil disobedience movement was started, most of the Congress leaders were arrested. At the same time, in the year 1930, the Simon Commission, which came to India to review the working of 1919 reforms, submitted a report to the Britain Parliament. Britain Parliament is calling Congress to discuss and review. What they wanted to discuss and review? The recommendations given by Simon Commission regarding the working of 1919 reforms. As most of the Congress leaders were arrested, the first roundtable conference was boycotted. The reason being, most of the Congress leaders were arrested. The Britain government got to know that if we want to make any discussions and reviews, Congress is necessary. For that reason, the viceroy at that time is Lord Irwin. He made a truce with Gandhi. That is called as Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Gandhi demands few things and he says that if those demands were accepted, then we are going to attend second roundtable conference. That is Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Gandhi demanded release of all political prisoners. He demanded for abolition of salt taxes. Whatever he demanded in that Gandhi-Irwin Pact, all of them were implemented. For that reason, in the second roundtable conference, Gandhi was attended. But there was a disagreement between Gandhi and Ambedkar. The reason being, Ambedkar wanted to have representation for depressed classes. For that reason, Ambedkar wanted to give depressed classes a separate communal electorate. Gandhiji rejected that idea, saying these depressed classes are part of Hindu society. If we give separate electorate to depressed classes, this would divide the Hindu society. For that reason, Gandhiji rejected the idea of Ambedkar. For that reason, second roundtable conference failed. Third roundtable conference, they come up with a solution called as Pune Pact. This pact was made between Gandhi and Ambedkar, where they made an agreement between themselves saying, we are not going to give a communal representation for depressed classes, but in the Hindu fold, we are going to give certain reservations to them. This solves the problem. With that, third roundtable conference closed, and Britain government has passed a white paper which later turned out to be Government of India Act 1935. Let's discuss what actually is Government of India Act 1935 now. To begin with, it is one of the lengthiest legislations that were made by Britain government in India because it contained 321 sections and 10 schedules, which is very huge. And next thing, it provided for the creation of All India Federation. What is All India Federation? Let's understand what is federation first. What is federation? Where different political units are combined to be under one central government. For example, if there is a, state B, state C, or province A, province B, province C, all these provinces are combined and brought under one central authority. That is federation. The reason being, at the time of constituting Government of India Act 1935, India is having two types of provinces. One is British provinces and other are princely states. British provinces are directly ruled by Britain government. These princely states are ruled by princes or kings, are paramount to Britain government. To combine these Britain provinces and princely states, they thought of making a federation. But princely states denied this thing. For that reason, All India Federation was never created. Next thing, this act divided the powers between center and provinces. To clearly say, the 7th schedule right now is having roots from Government of India Act 1935, where it said the federal list is containing 9 items, provincial list is containing 54 items, and concurrent list is containing 36 items, meaning the federal list is having 59 items, where center is authorized to make decisions on these 59 subjects. The same way, provinces is having 54 items in those lists. These provinces are having exclusive authority to make decisions in those 54 subjects. The same way, concurrent list, as we all know, where center and provinces combinedly are going to make decisions on the 36 items. The residuary powers. What are these residuary powers? Means those powers which are not present in any of the above list. Meaning, if there is any subject that was borne out and it was not present in federal list, provincial list and concurrent list, then power to make legislation of that subject lies with Viceroy. That was clearly stated. However, the federation did not come into force as princely states did not join it. As we discussed, the federation did not come into force. Next aspect, it abolished the Dyarchy. Now pause the video and comment down in which of the following acts, which we discussed in the previous videos, Dyarchy was introduced. And at which level Dyarchy was introduced, even you need to comment on that. To continue with, it abolished the Dyarchy at a provincial level. In Government of India Act 1919, it launched a provision of Dyarchy at a provincial level with two subjects, transferred subjects and reserved subjects. As we discussed in the beginning of the video, it abolished the provision of Dyarchy in the provinces, where provinces were allowed to act as autonomous units. Autonomous units in the sense, if you see the above lines, in provincial list, there were 54 items. Decisions regarding these 54 items can now be made by provinces alone. And next thing, it also introduced the responsible government. What is responsible government here? It is not governor alone who is going to take decisions in those subjects. It is governor with ministers. Ministers' advices are also needed to be taken into account now. That is what responsible government means. It is saying the governor was required to act with aid and advice of ministers responsible to the provincial legislatures. This provision of responsible government came into effect in the year 1937 and it was discontinued in the year 1939. Pause the video and let me know why it was paused in the year 1939 if you know it. I am giving you a hint. It is because of Second World War. To continue with, it provided the adoption of Dyarchy at the center. In the 1919 Act, it said the Dyarchy will be at a provincial level, but in the Act of 1935, it is saying now the Dyarchy will be at central level. However, this provision did not come into operation at all. Next aspect, it introduced bicameralism. What is bicameralism mean? Bi means two, cameralism means houses. It introduced a concept of two houses. They introduced legislative council and legislative assembly both. What were those provinces? It were Bombay, Bengal, Madras, United Province, Bihar and Assam. Next aspect, it extended the principle of communal representation to all the depressed classes and women and labor. Pause the video and comment. In 1909, communal representation was given. You need to answer to which community the communal representation was given for the first time. To continue, it abolished the Council of India. What is Council of India? It was established by Government of India Act 1858, where Secretary of State will be having a council. This was abolished and now Secretary of State is still present, but it was given a certain number of advisors now. That was the change which was made through 1935 Act. It extended the franchise. Earlier, the voting rights were given to only those people who are having property, who are taxpayers, but now with this act, 10% of total population are eligible for voting. It also provided for the establishment of Reserve Bank of India, manage the credit and currency of the country. It also provided for the establishment of Federal Public Service Commission and also Provincial Service Commission. And also it said a joint public service can also be constituted for 2 or more states. Next aspect, it provided for the establishment of federal court. Until now, there is no central apex court which is managing the affairs. But with this act, they said, with this act, they provided for the establishment of federal court. Is this federal court the top court? The answer is no. The reason being, decisions made by this federal court are still reviewed by Britain government or Britain Privy Council. That is all about Government of India Act 1935. Hope it was simple and clear. Thank you.